Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Game Dev London's podcast. Tonight we're going to do a month in review for February. Me and my beautiful co-host Stuart DeVille will be going over a number of different news stories from February and dissecting them and giving our opinions on them. This will be a combination of game industry news, and also we're going to throw in any new tools or anything of note which is coming out on the game development side, which we believe will be hopefully of use, if not entertaining to you. So, first of all, let me say hello to Stuart.
Hello.
Hi, Stuart.
How are you?
Very good, very good. I've got a good, I don't know, I think 8 stories, I think, which I would like to pick your brain over. And then we will, and more if we're going to go into. So the first one that I would like to, so I want to start off on a good note. Have you heard about the Vampire Survival?
No, I have not heard about Vampire Survival. I am so out of touch with current news and trends. It's almost criminal.
Okay, so Vampire Survival, why it's important and why it's of note is this is a $3 indie game, which is incredibly simple, which is just killing it. It is one of the most simple games that you can come up with. I used to play one on the mobile where you basically move around a map and you just point in a specific direction. Your character sort of auto fires. But this is just being done incredibly well. I'm just bringing it up now on Steam, and it has overwhelmingly positive, and I believe, where do we get the sales from? So it's on overwhelmingly positive on 50,000 reviews at this point, and the sales were something absolutely crazy. Selling at £2. It's the reason why I raise this is just, it's up there in some of the highest selling rates compared with a load of AAA stuff, and a lot of it on the actual value in sales. And it's I don't know anything about. It's so indie. It's crazy. It's an example of a game, just very, very simple game, very, very low development, done incredibly well.
How big's the team? Do we know?
Good question. I'm just going to look them up. They are a team. This is their first release, and the name is Poncool. I think if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So let me just Poncool. Let's it is, here we are. So there's 7, so they've been around for 7 years. No, I'm a game and web developer. No, that doesn't. Oh yes, well, it's Vampire Survivor, not what's his name. I think I've got the name wrong. I think this is a singular.
Helps when we get the right game.
Yeah, I think
it's a what? A solo dev?
A solo dev. So a mobile roguelike similar vein, as I said. Try the desktop version. I think it is, the name.
How long has it been working on it?
You're asking me some great questions here. Sort of like he's been a game and a web developer for 7 years. His name is Lucas. But I believe this is his first, as far as I can tell, this is his first one. He's got 6 or so games here, but nothing of any note. And then this thing has just exploded. Yeah, it is. It's Vampire Survivors.
This is how it happens, man. This is how unicorns happen.
this is the dream. This is what everyone wants.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. You toil away just in obscurity for 7 years, and then you kind of hit a groove, and you create a thing, and it sparks fire. This is almost why every developer starts their journey, right? They're like, that's what I want, that's the dream. I'm just gonna spend the next rest of my life making games.
yeah, this is exactly it. So, if he has 50,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews, if we go by the Steam ratio of every positive review you've made, you have sold 50 games. In that case, based on the point that he's selling it for £2, I think I'd divide that by two. So we are looking at, I think, what are we doing? We're coming in 2.5. Is that right? 2.5 million?
Wow.
I find
Solo
this like,
dev makes 2.5 million. Just sit on it. Just sit on it. Keep it in the bank. Live off the interest.
I'm worried I've got. I'll just run this into.
The thing is, though, when you make 2.5 million pounds, probably the first thing you do is go and buy a house. If you're clever, you buy a house that you can live and expand into. So maybe what, like a 2 bed, maybe in like a uh, fairly nice area, 250K, and then you bank the rest. If you're not very clever, then you go, I'm a millionaire, and you buy a millionaire mansion for £1 million, and it becomes a thing around your neck for the rest of your life until it eats up all your money.
Or just put it all into another game. Blow it all on.
Or yeah,
start your own
go,
AAA
actually,
studio.
I'm glad this game has made me this money because there's a dream game that I really wanted to make, and let me just spend all of this on that.
I'm sure it's got to be less than that. But
It depends what you want from life, doesn't it? There's so many ways you could do it. I think, yeah, for me personally, if let's say, not now because I've got 2 kids, so 2.5 million isn't going to touch anything right now. Back in the day, let's say 10 years ago, if I'd have made 2.5 million, what would I have done? I probably would have gone on a big old holiday, travel the world for a bit, come back, and I probably would have sunk it into another game.
Yeah, I'm
Double
guessing
down.
that's what I would have done. Yeah, just double down.
Double down.
Put it all on red.
Yeah.
It's like
once you've got commitments, though, then it's a whole different ball game, isn't it? We're like we've got kids, so once you've got kids, you don't think, oh yeah, I'll just spank all that on another game adventure, see where that goes. You can't. You literally would just be thinking, I can put some money aside for this one to go to university. I can maybe get a nice house, and own a nice house that we can all live in. You still spend it just as quick, probably.
I wouldn't. He's got to learn to fend for himself at some point. He's not getting a handout. Not getting any of my cash.
You want to go to university? You go get a job.
Be laden with debt like everybody else. Yeah. Okay, so on to our next topic.
Yeah.
Google, and this is a slightly sadder one, I think. What's your take on Google Stadia?
Google Stadia. Well, so I'm probably on record for this, but I think from the beginning, I was dubious. When we were, I think, not within the first wave, because on the first wave of everyone being hyped about it, that hype train that Google started, I was just like, that is too big a hype train. I don't think the infrastructure can handle what they're talking about. I don't think that they have all of the solutions for latency issues. I just had all of these little things where I was like, I don't think they've got their ducks in a line. I think that they're ramping up and doing a hype train now, and they're hoping by the time that peaks, that everyone's on board and they'll get it done, and ta-da. And then somewhere, I can't remember where, but there was a point at which I went, oh, maybe it will be okay. And then I stopped paying attention.
Yeah, I think that's probably what a lot of people did. I think their main problem is everyone just stopped paying attention. My opinion was I was actually very hyped about Stadia, but I was hyped for a different reason. I never really been terribly sold on the streaming of games. I just know sort of how intense it is, and having something which was having to go across the internet, and knowing that the amount of lag was never. I was never that sold on that. What I was really sold on, especially as a game dev, was the ability to use YouTube and like stream your games through YouTube and allow people to sort of like, you go, oh, I made this level, can everyone try it? And then people could just jump onto it in the browser in YouTube, and you could get feedback from everybody. Because as someone who tends to produce a lot of content, and you tend to want to show stuff, that to me was like, oh, that would be great. Now I suppose we've got Itch.io, and you've got other ways of doing it. So you can use pixel streaming if you need to, but I thought if they could nail that, then that would have been awesome. Well, it seems like it will not be. Google has admitted failure on Stadia, and they have they've demoted Phil Harrison. So he is he's not out as far as I can tell, but I mean Google is a big company. They've admitted that they're deprioritizing it is the official call.
So essentially, because like everyone was saying that Phil didn't know what he was talking about, right? That I think that was kind of one of the key things that was mentioned at the time. So I always had a feeling that if it did go south, he would be the scapegoat. He would be the fool guy, and that is exactly what has happened, right? That's what they need. And this is also what everyone had been saying when this hype train started, is that look at the Google failures, like look at Google Plus,
Google Graveyard.
Look at Google Glass. Everyone was saying this is just another one of those, and everyone had the same reservations. And I can't say I'm terribly surprised. It is a shame, because it's one of those ones. Same with Google Glass, actually. I really wanted Google Glass to be a thing, and I don't know if we will ever get to a point where wearables become sufficient enough so that they don't destroy our eyes, or I tend to think actually that potentially Elon Musk's
Neuralink
is probably where we will end up getting our augmented reality from. So because then you can just send the visual signals straight to the brain processor, right? But I mean, even that is some future tech. I think we're still far away from that.
I think glasses will come before that point. I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems. I mean, the technology seems to be coming on to the point where it's getting cheaper, and it's getting. The problem with plugging it straight into your brain is there's going to be a lot of figuring out what the different brain rays do and the different connections, and then your problem
possibly. But what I always think about when people talk about this stuff is how our brains are massively adaptable anyway. Like if you I don't know if you know much about all of this stuff, but if someone has a problem within their brain, I think they did this. I think this happened with a young person. I don't think it was an old person, but they removed half of the brain, and the brain just kind of went, half of us is missing, and it re-augmented itself so that the half of brain that was left functioned, had all the same functioning systems that a regular full brain has. So yeah, so the brain and the way that it works is very malleable. And if you think about the amount of noise that your brain takes in, if you've ever had any kind of injury where you've had to take had to be on any kind of tranquilizing medication, when that tranquilizing medication kicks in, suddenly you can hear everything, and like your brain isn't able to turn off all of the extra noise, and it comes a bit crazy, and you feel like you're. This is why people say like, "Oh, I felt like I was underwater. Everything felt like blah, 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 blah." It's because your brain is suddenly going, "I'm not going to process all of this information the way I normally do. It's just all going to come at you." So I think that we will probably get to a point where they'll start trying to send signals to the brain, and the brain will then start trying to figure it out. There'll be this like two-way road thing going on where we're going, is this enough information? Is this the right kind of information? And the brain will go, yeah, no. And also, there's one other thing on this. They put these belts on a number of people that they were belts that kind of gave you, I think it was like a little electronic static jab, so that when you were walking around, it always you were able, it like poked you to let you know where north was. And these people walked around, living their everyday lives, constantly having their brain and their body being told, that's north, that's north, that's north. They also think this is connected to the fact that we probably had that ability at some point and it's dormant now. But when they took the belt off, these people were still able to say for quite some time after, with pretty good accuracy, that's north. So I think that there's a lot of information that the brain can receive. There's lots of ways that we can do it, and the brain will figure it out for us.
Yeah, no, interesting. It would be, well, it's exciting technology.
Yeah.
I can see the playing projecting a little image onto a screen into reflecting it off of the screen seems like a lot lower a challenge than adapting the human brain.
Yeah, the thing that I find though, like, the way that all like VR works, for example, is that it has to be a certain distance away from your eyes in order for that to work properly. And even then, there's like this little adjustment that on most devices so that you get the right positioning of it. So I don't see how like wearing regular glasses that sit right in front of your eyeball, because that's like part of the problem that they've got. It's really hard for your eye to actually go, I'm focusing this close. So, but you know, there's going to be problems with whatever we try and figure out.
Anyway, so Stadia, it's a bit of a pity. I mean, they haven't said that they're completely. They've just said they're deprioritizing it. So it's
been relegated to a small team of like 3 people.
I think it's about 20. But they'd already given up on the development companies. They're developing any of their own games, which is a pity. I'd quite like to see somebody else into the space, because I suppose what is the big topic is Microsoft. They've done a lot in this month. Not only have their earning reviews come in, and they were great, their purchase of Activision is being held up a little bit. There's certain monopoly concerns when it comes, seeing as they've been on a spending spree over the last I don't know, 6 months, I suppose now. They got Bethesda, haven't they? And they've got the purchase of Activision is running into a little bit of trouble. Which I don't know if I'm happy or sad about. I don't know what I'm quite a fan of Microsoft these days. I mean, they just seem to be doing everything right. And they seem to be allowing the game developers the sort of control and over their work. They've got so much money, they just don't need to worry about doing anything. Does worry me about Sony because they're just in a place to trash them something chronic.
I don't know. I'm similarly situated. Like, although when it comes to Microsoft and how nice and helpful they're being towards devs, like as a game dev, we're quite aware that across the landscape, it's really rare for someone to come along and go, "We're going to support you. We're going to give you tons of help," and not really any strings involved. Normally, there's fair few strings involved, and normally there's some strings where we're like, "Actually, I can't take those because that will hang me." So I'm always skeptical. And this goes for like things in life in general, right? If someone's being super nice to you and they don't really know you, they have no reason to trust you, you kind of have to be thinking to yourself, this is a bit too good to be true. And on the buying Activision thing, I think that it's just business savvy, isn't it? They saw that Activision had taken a lot of hits and I wouldn't say they were quite limping along, but they're definitely, they've been in trouble in the media for a little while and probably brought the price down just enough that Microsoft would be daft not to, really, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So,
and they can use it as a PR thing. They can fix it because the whole claims of sexism and the whole the China thing. I mean, it's all a little. This is good. This is, you can say, oh, new management, or the games you love, but we're doing this differently now. I mean, I kind of hope it goes through, but it is. I mean, everyone's going to have a little trouble. Yeah, the Xbox Pass is just going to become such a necessity at this point. There's just so much stuff on it, but they've been really. I feel they've been really good to the industry. So part of me is like, yeah, you go, Microsoft. So they also purchased another company, Certain Affinity. Now, I had not heard of these people before. Have you?
No.
I've looked them up and they've worked on a bunch of stuff, but they seem to be like a studio. They've been around for 15 years.
Okay.
But they're from Austin, Texas. I kind of get the impression like they've worked on a number of games that I'm pretty sure aren't theirs. Like, okay, they worked on Halo, Call of Duty franchise, and World of Tanks. So I think they're one of these sort of mercenary sort of game dev houses for hire. And if you need something, I mean, they've got a fair old.
So they're essentially a game dev boutique. They're any little gig you want to give us, any little helping support we can give, and then they get involved, jump in, and potentially in some cases save the day.
I think so. I think when you need extra, you can grab these pieces. They worked on Halo Infinite, Doom, 2016, a load of Call of Duty, and so yeah, they did like the castle map pack for Halo. So I mean, they're not a big one, but it is just another Microsoft is just sucking up one more. They need as many hands on deck as possible at this point. There's they worked on Left 4 Dead. That they're so that's, I mean, it's almost a side note after the Activision and Bethesda.
Yeah.
So, but it did happen in February, so that's why I made it on my list.
Yeah. People can't say that we're not keeping them well informed on what's happened. We're leaving no stone unturned.
No.
We won't give you the pointless trinket stuff, but we'll give you the meaty bits.
So let's talk tools. So I have two tools here. which I think are worth chatting about. And the first one is one called Plask. Plask, and you can find this on the website plask.ai. And what this does is it will take video footage and it will use it as animation data and it will map it to a rigged character. Thus meaning you can basically do mocap for next to nothing. And they've got plans where you can do a whole load of stuff. Now, the concept is fabulous. So you just video yourself doing something and they will extrapolate it and they will bring it out. I have tried this tool and it did not do what I did. Now, I have only had a short time to play with it, and I've seen other people getting really good results out of it. But I don't think. I mean, I don't think this is going to be. I don't think I'm going to be dropping my standard animation sort of pipeline at this point. Great idea, brilliant idea, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I think other people will do it as well, but I've not seen anybody else specifically do this. There was talk about they were aiming it quite a lot at sort of not actually game, but more sort of people who sort of produce video footage and sort of need to animate stuff for YouTube.
Yeah, I can see it being massive for content creators because especially content creators that are using avatars. So any I forget what the famous one is on Twitch. I think it's, I don't want to get it wrong. Yuli, damn it. But essentially is an anime character that is mocapped animation, and the content creator themselves does all of the chat, and they're quite funny with it and everything. But obviously when you're watching it, you just see this avatar being cool. I think she even does interviews.
Oh yeah, I think I know her. Does she use?
And
I mean, to me,
that,
if you want to do facial animation, the live link in the iPhone is superb. That's really good. It's
I think all of these tools are going to get there. But yeah, I think for content creators, being able to have, because this means essentially that, you know, their meme game will be super strong, right? Because anything video where some person does something that's hilarious or stupid or whatever, they just steal the mocap, slap in their avatar, and Bob's your uncle. Here's a new meme.
Yeah, you're right.
I think if it can catch fire that way,
stealing other people's mocap data, not recording your own. Yeah, you're right. I think that's where it's going to go. So there you go. It's not game dev related, so we can drop that topic. It's a possible tool you might want to try though.
Well, I mean, it could it could very well get there. I think right now, especially like with the way that companies need to operate, they need a whole bunch of users in order to improve it. So if it can catch fire on social media with things like TikTok and Twitch, then they'll get all of those users, they'll get all of the data, the tool will improve, and then game devs can take it.
So my next tool, because I do have two, is Kenny Tools. Have you ever tried out any of Kenny Tools stuff?
I haven't tried them out, but I am very aware of them.
Yeah.
He does some amazing stuff.
What's
he done now?
He's created Ship Mixer. So okay. It is a relatively.
Wasn't expecting that.
He creates spaceships, and you can just go straight on. You can just build it online, but it generates sort of pixel-based spaceships, and it's quite good fun. I mean, this is. I mean, it's going to go dev orientated, but it's not. It's no. It's a Kenny tool. So if you've never encountered Kenny tools, he creates some small tools which are great for indie developers, where you can make. He's got I think I've got a tool I bought of him that you can make like Minecraft-esque sort of objects. You can build them really quickly in a fun little tool. I find them more entertainment value. I've never actually used them anyone in a project. I downloaded some stuff and dragged them into Unreal just to check out how it worked. But if you are making,
didn't he create a tool that turns pixel art into voxel art?
Yeah. Well, he's created a number of them. So he's got the so the Asset Forge that creates 3D models and 2D sprites using building blocks, which is he's got the Ken Shape, which is the one that I was using, where you can go in there and you can make a pixel art by just putting the numbers of how far you want something to come out. So it's a really easy tool, describing it terribly, for creating creating a singular singular models. He's got something that's called Creature Maker, which you can play around, and it creates a small animated sprite character, sort of pixelated creature, and it's really awesome. If this is the style that you're going for and you like his stuff, they're great little tools. They really are. But you've really got to be wanting to use that style. So yeah, that's Kenny Tools. If you've not touched on his stuff and you're into sort of pixel art stuff, go check it out, because it's good stuff. Right, now my last few are all, how are we doing for time? So let's talk about Unreal. So so Unreal has updated a preview. Unreal Engine has got a new version that's coming out, UE5, which has a whole load of crazy-ass sort of tools and updates, and it looks beautiful. It's got a number of extra things, but they released it as a kind of as an alpha where people could grab it and play around with it. And it was buggy, but people are using it, and there are now games that are coming out with it. They've now released another one that's called a preview. Now, it doesn't mean it's live, so it's a little bit hard to sort of figure out what exactly it does mean. It has allowed us to have a look at some of the extra sort of elements which are part of it. It's got we know that it comes with Nanite, which is their loading system, which is incredibly powerful, and plus it eats your disk space. It also comes with Lumen, which is their real-time lighting engine to try and get rid of the cost of lighting, which is good. It has some interesting lighting scenarios. It's got things like if the light is behind you, it doesn't light up what's in front of you correctly and stuff like that. But I mean, I think that's all going to go away. It's clearly fantastic. It's just in process. But they are now they've released the preview, so it's Lumen and Nanite, the two main ones that they've got. However, we also have they talked about rejigging the animation blueprint, I think, which is okay. I don't mind the animation blueprint, how it's set up in Unreal. However, what are the other sections? And it doesn't seem a major one for me. I mean, they released a game with it, where you're like a bug flying around a city, and it does look incredibly beautiful. They're working a bit on the Path Tracer, I believe, which is their sort of equivalent of ray tracing, but slightly quicker, I think.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like this is all stuff that I believe I saw being demoed at Develop last year.
Possibly,
Is
yeah.
there any? Is this when what? So what is a preview? Is it just are they giving us access to like a demo version of the tools or something?
Oh, the whole version is out there. The whole you can download the whole thing and use it. People are making games.
Yeah, okay,
Well,
so yeah, I think that's what's confused me because I did think that it was already out. So what does preview do?
it's just the next update. They've just decided to use a new phrase for it. I think it's coming soon. Is the basic setup. It's and so this is just before because at some point they're going to go. It's here. It's ready. It's finished. And
Oh, right,
everyone's
okay.
going to start developing on it. Is the idea, but they're kind of rather than doing it all at once, they're sort of drip feeding it out. So it's sort of just like an update. So it's, but
Okay.
it's they've got some they're playing around, but they're just sort of announcing some new features. So the virtual shadow maps, it's a shadow mapping method that delivers consistent high resolution shadows. So I'm guessing this is similar to what the nanites are, but they're doing it with shadow mapping. Control rig's been around for a while now. New distance matching and pose warping. So there's two new features that combines allows a small set of animations to work with a wide range of motions. Distant matching controls the play rate of the animation. Pose warping dynamically adjusts the pose of the animation to better match the motion of the in-game character. So
Interesting.
they've also playing around. I think this is the main thing here is the animation stuff because they're talking about new animation blueprint templates. This feature enables you to create reusable animation graphs as well as enabling engine features to be shipped as animation graph assets. With it, you can create animation blueprint logic that isn't bound to a specific skeleton or asset. These assets can be directly referenced in the animation, but instead it can be reused in the context of the animation blueprints. So the way I sort of translate that, they've because they're working with Control Rig, they've been trying to get to this point where you can, rather than having set animations that you would plug into a skeleton, you would start using Control Rig instead, where you would just control the markers, and you could use the logic and the IK for the markers, and then any skeleton that you plug in is going to be able to have the same markers, and so you'd be able to throw animations between different models quite relatively easily.
That
Which
does sound cool.
I think, yeah, it could be awesome. I've got to spend more time on Control Rig.
Because that could save a lot of time in your animation pipeline. Because I'm like, there's so many times, like, when it comes to animating characters, for example, when it comes to if you've got a game that has multiple playable characters, what you historically tend to do, or what we have historically tended to start doing, is that you create the rig, you create the animations, and then you attach your player character models to that rig, and then you do the tweaks to make sure that it doesn't have any weird effects or defects, however you want to think of it. Um, Whereas this, yeah, would allow you to create an animation on any given rig because sometimes it is better to have a specific rig per character.
Yeah, I mean, if you're working with a standard humanoid character, then I can't see any problem with using Control Rig like that.
Mm.
I mean, the great thing about the Control Rig is you can add logic into it, so you can do a number of other different things. But you might lose a lot of old sort of blend space and those kind of elements. Yeah, I think I think it's clearly a great idea, and there is some amazing stuff they're doing with it, and the ability to sort of react and adapt to the environment quite quickly is brilliant.
Mm.
And I've seen it being used where they've got like 12 very different models, and they're all running off of the same animation blueprint, and it's quite impressive. Um, but yeah, I think the thing is I tried to set up a Control Rig, and it's a real learning curve for it, and I think it would be a while before people are willing to ditch their old their old sort of pipeline. Yeah, but
Yeah, having any kind of, for me, I have a love-hate relationship with rigging. Whenever I've rigged so many characters at this point that, like, I remember the early days of trying to figure out like what was then a standard rig versus like an IK rig, and throwing in things like bendy bones and making sure you've got like a really good stretch and squash and stretch. I can't remember which way we use that. Yeah, rigging is just, once you have your own workflow with rigging, yeah, changing to a new form of rig, like I was saying, for me to go from what was regular bone rig to an IK rig took me months, and I really hated the process. It's beneficial by the end of it, of course. Everything kind of can work better or in cleaner ways and make things simpler, but yeah, the headache of getting into a new animation. As long as it's user friendly, it might. As long as the transition can be smoothed out, it might be fine.
well, I'll come back to you on how user friendly it is because I still got to learn it. But at the moment, I've struggled getting some basic like foot IK working in it at this point. So I am
Oh,
at the
okay.
moment. I'm convinced it's the future. I'm convinced it's the future. I'm just not
Yeah.
convinced that I might be old man and game dev, and it may leave me behind. Okay,
Yeah.
so one more Unreal piece of news, and that is that the Quicksilver Mega Scans, I think they purchased, or Epic have purchased RD textures, and they've included it in the Pixel Mega Scans library. It means it's just got a huge boost. So the Quicksilver Mega Scan stuff is just crazy big,
Yeah.
crazy good, and yeah, it's these super detailed, wonderful textures and stuff like that. So that's just grown massively. It's not a huge amount of things. So, do we have time for a couple other honorary mentions?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got on my list here that all you RPG Maker fans, it's coming to
Oh.
Unity. So that
Oh,
was announced.
really?
Yeah. So you're not going to be stuck with the limitations of RPG Maker. You're going to be able to
That's
expand it with the power of Unity.
interesting. Didn't was oh no, I'm thinking of Godot. Godot engine just stepped into the 3D market, didn't it?
Yeah,
RPG Maker, interesting.
I haven't done a huge amount of RPG Maker to be honest. Yeah, I was
I
teaching
thought it
them.
was super basic 2D.
Yep.
Isn't it like really good if you want to do um
If you want to make
point
an
and
old
clicks?
school, no, if you want to make an old school Final Fantasy, that's your engine of
Oh,
choice.
really? You could do that? I didn't know
Yeah,
that. Okay.
pixel based, above view, wandering around, getting into fights with monsters. That's its
Okay.
bread and butter. Um, there are other versions which I know little about, so I'm not going to comment too much on it. But
So that
once
was seen. Is that RPG Maker coming to Unity, or is that Unity buying RPG Maker?
I could not see them buying it. I believe I didn't actually see the
So
details of it
maybe
because
it's
I
like
was
a partnering.
well. I think I think it is what do you call it? I almost feel like it's they're using they're basically using it as sort of a build out of the engine. So they're using the Unity engine to underpin it, and so you're going to get very similar functionality. So from everyone who's come from RPG Maker, they'll be able to go on and they'll be able to work within the setup, but it'll be Unity under it. So you'll be able to access all of the through their interface and their template, you'll be able to access everything that Unity offers, which is pretty much anything, which is pretty much I mean,
So it's probably really good if you've been making RPG Maker games and you wanted to monetize, because Unity would certainly be able to plug you in there. I imagine that would be
Well,
one of the
I
benefits.
mean, people are already selling RPG Maker games. There are some quite famous and quite successful RPG Maker games out there and made a lot of
But do
money.
they have internal monetization?
Good question. Yeah, no, I mean, basically anything that you want to do outside of the RPG, outside of the relatively rigid template. I think there was Python, so you might have some ability to edit it. But
Mm.
I mean,
Unity would certainly streamline that.
yeah, Unity should allow you to do anything at all, really,
Yeah.
which should be awesome.
Interesting.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but final one. Um, Ubisoft's NFT seem to be a bit dead in the water. Is they nobody seems relatively sold on the whole thing. I'm not sold on NFTs in the slightest. So I am, but it's
Yeah.
there are numerous things that it is crashing and burning in the best case scenario. Nobody's willing to really put their money into a slightly different serial number on a gun or something.
Right. Yeah. So that is interesting, though. I would have thought, because the NFT space is buzzing. There's definitely lots of money flying around there. Um, to fail is
Well,
almost
I mean,
impressive.
they were trying it out. They were trying to figure out where they can make some cash
But
with it.
so what? I'm not entirely sure what it was. Were they trying to have their own NFT marketplace?
Yeah,
Because if
so
that's what they were doing, maybe that's why it failed.
they were trying to work NFTs into the game, into games where you could purchase them, or you could, and maybe you could win them in some kind
Right.
of case.
Oh, is this the whole
Uh,
thing where they wanted to have it so that you could buy this NFT in this game and take it across and use it in this other game?
Actually, it might be. I really need to look into it more, but
Either way, they
it's
failed.
yeah.
Whatever it was they were trying to do,
The
they haven't managed to do it. I
message
mean,
is
it's the Wild West, so you know.
yeah, yeah. I don't think it's yeah. I mean, maybe it's the future, but I don't think we all have to
Because it's
future
working quite well in is it Decentraland,
possibly.
which is the game where you playing the game enables you to mint your own NFTs as, I believe, as in-game objects, um, and then sell them to each other for like. I haven't played it in any great depth. I think I
Yeah,
created an account and then I just didn't really understand what
I'm
I was supposed to do.
yeah. I'm not a huge. I mean, maybe I'm just getting old on this, but I'm not a huge understander of why NFTs are valuable.
I kind of I having been a career creative and having sold my own art and stuff, like I get how you can have digital art, especially because I have a bit of a better understanding about how blockchains work. I can understand how you can own a digital asset that is guaranteed to be unique and non-replicable. So I get that. I get how it can be this unique thing, but it just doesn't appeal to me the same way that a physical piece of art that is either like sculpted or painted that that I can own and hold. I think for me, where NFTs fall down, I mean they're clearly doing all right. So this isn't like I'm not throwing any shade, but for me personally, like I with an NFT being online and people being able to look at it, like people can't own it. There's only ever going to be one owner, but like it can be viewed by everyone. Whereas for me, if I own a piece of art, I want it to be sitting in my house, and I have the pleasure of viewing the thing that I own. And if I want to, I can share it with some friends. I mean, that's probably also possible online. You know, there must be like online galleries for these things.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But the security isn't there, right? Because once you share a link with someone so that they can view your NFT, if that link escapes, which is entirely possible, then anyone can view your NFT.
Anyone
So
can
I don't know.
screenshot it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a much longer. This could be a discussion in itself, but
yes, NFTs is huge, yeah. Especially for two people. Like I've been looking into it for a couple of months, so I have like a certain amount of knowledge. You seem to not really care about it,
well,
so we're definitely not the right people.
I think it's a Ponzi scheme. Is my thing. But if you can prove, but there'll be a lot of people. If you can prove ownership, I mean, but the problem is there's a whole load of stuff like you're not the sole owner. Don't they mint like 2,000 of them at a chuck and then sell them? And there's a constant news. It seems to be that the value of this is only that other people are willing to come in and spend more and buy it. So everyone is sort of bidding up a marketplace where you're controlling it, and even if you can claim that you're the owner of something, everyone else can have a screenshot. It's famous that people would buy an NFT and they'd use it as their Twitter handle, and then everyone else would screenshot it and then use it as their Twitter handle and give them grief. And maybe this changes, but at the moment I can just see that it's everyone is buying it because they're presuming that there's the fallacy of a greater fool. Somebody out there's going to buy it off them for a larger amount of money, and but I may be wrong. And
I think you're right. I think that it's like gold. There's a lot of fool's gold out there, but in there somewhere there are people with genuine gold. And at the end of the day, the value of gold is a social construct. We all agree on the value of the thing, and therefore it has that value. But yeah, it's definitely a space to just keep an eye on, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like money. It's just a concept. It's a giant delusion. We all believe in the value of money, so it's that.
Yeah, it's not even real, people.
Yeah,
not even real.
Right. So I think I have gone through all of my note list. So thank you very much for joining us. It just leaves me to say a big thanks to Stuart DeVille for being my co-host on this podcast. And please do come find us online in Game Dev London and on our Discord channel. Anything
you can find us at gamedev.london if you want to go hit up the website and find out more about us. Everything about us is on that is there. Or to join our Discord, you can go gamedev.london/join. We would love to see you there.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, everyone, and good night.
Bye-bye.